So you know who came up with this concept?
Okay.
Good afternoon, our viewers. Welcome to yet another edition of Coffee Chat with Focus. So we pray that you're going to have an awesome time with us. And it is our very heart's desire that you have a peaceful mind without struggles, without too many thoughts, and want to assure you that we are there for you. So today's coffee is courtesy of Creso. It's really nice coffee. You want to come by and just have a cup of it, and they do make so tasty scones. So do come through and just have a grab of their coffee and the scones. Today we have an amazing, beautiful soul with us. She's been inspiring women. She's been advocating for children. And so we'll get to know more about her during the course of the interview. But today, before she even talks through the topic, we just want to know who Mrs. Rebecca M. Mulenga is. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Rebecca Mulenga.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dorcas. I'm actually very excited to be here. It's a rare opportunity for people like us to just sit here, especially in the spirit of Women's Month. So I feel it's an honor to be here and just explain on the most pertinent issues that are at heart. I believe all of us have that at heart. So my names are Rebecca Makwele. Mulenga, Mrs., by the way. Yes, I just added the Mulenga name recently, and I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm a child's rights activist, and also somebody who advocates strongly for women as well. I'm currently with WILSA, Women and Law in Southern Africa, also co-working with WILDAF, that's Women in Law Development in Africa. Yes, right. So I like to define myself as a child of God. I think everything else is just through this. I'm a child of God, and that's what everything else is derived from. So that's pretty much me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So in the spirit of Women's Month, I decided to wear this African outfit.
Yeah.
It's a jumpsuit, by the way, for those that love looking funky and nice. I'm dressed by Lily Fashions. I'm sure most of you have heard of Lily Fashions. She does amazing work. She's done clothes for people like Tassila Lungu. She's the lady who was behind her wedding outfits. She's the same lady behind my outfit today.
She is amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lily.
Thank you so much for coming to our show, and we pray that you're going to have an awesome time with us, and that many women out there are going to learn one or two things from you.
Right.
And we'll just keep it rolling. So today our topic is about, it's going to talk about children. We want to address the issue of child abuse, sexual abuse against children in the homes, and how the community can just respond to it. So Ms. Mulenga is going to take us through about child sexual abuse and everything, and how we can just combat it and everything.
Right. Okay, so I'll just go direct into it.
Yes.
So Dorcas, let me just sip in my coffee first.
Sip in.
Remember, it's hot coffee with Dorcas, so I just want to enjoy every moment of it. So first of all, I'd like us to look at the aspect that this is Women's Month, and I believe every woman should feel challenged. Every woman should just settle in and just try and be the woman that you're expected to be. So many opportunities have left us, not because, or we have not had opportunities, not because we are not just loved. It's the mere fact that we women do not know where we should be at the right time. So I feel it's an important opportunity for us this month to just look into the most important things that we women are responsible for. So if you saw my post, I said Happy Women's Day, but remember, it is your responsibility that every child is protected. So Dorcas, you and me have a mandate to take care of that girl child and that boy child, to make sure they are settled in well, and then their future is preserved. I go by the motto, preserving the future generation, because I believe we have a role to play as women. So I'm going to be tackling this issue, not only talking to women, but to you men out there that need to stand up and be ambassadors. So first of all, who is a child? I look at a child, and I had to go through my statutes, of course, and I looked at the Constitution. The Constitution defines the Zambian Constitution, Cap1 of the Zambian law, Cap1, says that defines a child as someone who's below the age of 18. We have a little bit of a hiccup here and there, because under the penal code, a child is defined by the age 16.
Yes.
So if you look at the consenting age for a child to actually be engaged in sexual intercourse, it's 16 years. So I will go by the age 16 for further clarification, for the conversation that we meant today. So today we'll look at a child as a child below the age of 16. So Dorcas, I want you to just think for a minute when you were a child, and some of the things, the basic things that you had to go through, or some of the things that you never had as a child. Even just for a second, viewers out there, you can join us and just close your eyes, focus for a little bit, just even for a second.
Something like a reflection therapy.
Right.
You have to go back to those young days.
Right.
Maybe age 40 right now, but you didn't take off a certain jacket in your childhood.
Right.
And nobody knows the abuse that you went through. Nobody knows who molested you. Nobody spoke for you. Nobody defended you. So let us do our reflection, as Mrs. Mulenga has told us. It's really therapeutic. You have to attach importance to this so that you connect so well.
Right.
Exercise.
So in seconds, I'm closing my eyes and I'm just trying to ask you, what is it that you went through when you were 10 years old, when you were 9 years old, when you were 15, when you were 14, when you had no one to speak on your behalf? Did you have a great life? Did you need things that you never had? So that's just for a second. And of course you can remember something just came, because your child is defined by what you went through. So I believe two people out there can reflect and remember those things that they went through. And there are those basic needs that they never received as a child. So, a child needs food, shelter, good health, education, security, protection. But there are those things that are very important, such as human rights. You needed it.
Issues of human rights and the rules in the home.
Right.
The culture. So how do you marry them?
So now I look at human rights and I feel like culture, culture, to start with, we are a dual legal system setup. So I must remind the viewers and yourself that we have the customary law and the statutory law. So I don't like to have things in conflict with the two, because obviously your mother had to teach you respect, all those basic things that are cultural inclined, which is very important for us. But there are those things that I wouldn't say they're abuses as in per se, but they're things that have been in conflict with us growing up that we had to go through. So certain things such as being beaten. Do you know that beating a child is a crime and it's a form of abuse?
It's a form of abuse, but other parents take it to that scripture where they say you can't spare the rod.
I always like it when somebody brings up that issue, because there's a misunderstanding here. If we look at the clergy and would ask for an interpretation, they would actually tell you that spare the road means, when you say a road, remember Moses used to move with a road? It's actually talking about direction. So it's not actually saying, it's a metaphor, which is trying to bring out the aspect of you directing the child, not by a whip. It's you directing the child by giving them wisdom, talking to them. You've been beaten before. Did that help you?
No, I think it brought up some violence.
Exactly.
That aggression.
Right. And so many children out there are going through what exactly you and I went through. I have my share of my story, but today I just want us to talk about some of the abuses that children go through. And sometimes we do not know that they're actually going through these abuses. And those things have actually raised who they are today. Dr. Nayem, what do you call him? He's a health specialist, and he told me one thing when we were on a webinar, and he told me, he says, your childhood shapes who you are when you grow up. So there's a thin line between abuse and mental health.
Very thin line.
Yeah, so when you go through abuse, there's so much possibility, yes, that mental health issues, you'll be one of the unfortunate people that will have a lapse. I would say you wouldn't just do so well mentally. So it's important that we raise our children in the right way. So first of all, 3 forms of abuse. There's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, and there's sexual abuse. So when we look at the physical abuse, that's where we look at the beating, where you put a child. I remember there was a story on TV where those young girls were putting a child, and they put a brazier. I don't know what the child did, that he wasn't doing so well. There was even a verdict to that effect, 5 years, and then the other one, because they were a minor, they had to take them through rehabilitation. But these are the forms of abuse. There was another story of that woman in Zaf who was abusing that little girl. Wanamushoka, getting a spoon, putting it on the brazier, that's what we call physical abuse. This is happening in homes.
It doesn't come out there. If no one talks to you, no one helps you to do
it will never be helped.
It will never be helped.
So that's a form of physical abuse. We also have emotional abuse. You will never amount to anything, especially stepmothers. I'm sorry to just come in quickly and say, most women who have assumed responsibility over children that don't biologically belong to them have ended up mistreating them. I know there are amazing stepmothers out there that have been amazing parents. They've been amazing parents to other people, and we say kudos to those women because they have built strong women. But now there are those that are unfortunate that have been raised by stepmothers, and abuse has been the talk of the day. We have so many examples. Some have been abused by their own mothers, by their own fathers. Some have even been abused by aunties. They can never.
They can't talk, and then they'll say, if I stay, which home will I stay? If I have bread,
Right. So we have to endure all this pain. So there's what you call physical abuse. There's the beating, the whipping, the doing also. Then there's emotional that I just spoke about. You're being talked to in a wrong way. This also happens to big women in marriage. Your man, your husband.
It's really there, it's so real, and women are not coming out to say because they want to maintain the status.
Yeah, your husband is verbally abusing you. He's doing all sorts of things. Now imagine a child. If you as a woman can't handle the insults of your husband, now imagine a little girl or a little boy who's just being raised and all they depend on is you.
Wow.
So there's so much abuse that is going on. There's also neglect. We have parents that just do it. It's like you do it deliberately. You let a child be out there. You don't provide for them. You don't care.
Even care who their friends are.
Exactly.
What they are doing.
Especially munkania damage. When a man, maybe you're a single mother, your husband the person who's in charge, who's supposed to be taking care of the needs of a child, neglects you. It's also a criminal offense.
Yeah.
So all those three things that have actually brought out physical abuse, emotional, all those things, all those kinds of abuses are actually criminal, and they can be taken before courts.
But
So,
there are children out there, they are very sharp. But how can you empower them to just say, use this skill to share your story?
Yes.
Your pain?
Okay.
You don't have anyone to tell in the home.
Okay, so most of it, before I get to the kids themselves, I would like to make mention that we have a role as mothers to be very observant. So the task is mothers, be observant. Teachers, kids are more free with teachers nowadays. They would probably even come out and just tell the teacher. So teachers should make a friendly environment, an environment where kids can come out and express themselves. So teachers have also a mandate, or they have an obligation to make sure that the children that they are actually taking care of are able to come out clearly and bring out some of the issues. We've had cases where a child, because of a suspicion of a teacher, a child brought out certain issues and they were helped. In Bala, we had a case where a child didn't go for school and the teacher gave out some presents to the pupils. When she came back asking for hers, she was asked, why is unabwele?
Yeah.
She says, ngashi shideko ku skulu, it's because shikulu na chindwinga nyereti. So now that she got suspicious, and
So you need also to master the language.
Exactly.
Using. How can this child
Yes.
at this tender age apply such a big word?
yeah, so long story short, she had some neighbor, Chishikulu, 76 years old, who was sexually abusing this child. So the teacher played a big role in unmasking the evils that were going on in that house. So, teachers must create that environment. Churches, let's talk about these issues. It's not a taboo.
So I wanted to take you to the word taboo. Taboo is in the home where your child has become of age. You want to entrust an aunt to talk to that child about sexuality, how to protect themselves. Then there comes in this violence against these children.
Right.
How do you empower the parents themselves?
So parents, first of all, I have a problem with always referring me to my auntie to talk to me. I've said this a couple of times to my mother as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your mother should be your mother. Let her take us through the steps. Tell us how to be clean. When I attend puberty, it doesn't mean I'm ready for marriage. I am a strong advocate against child marriage. But I feel there are certain things that we need to do as parents. Don't leave it to your aunt. Your aunt may not put in as... You are the one who carried that child for 9 months. So parents out there, you have a mandate to teach us how to be clean, to teach us to be responsible. Your role is not just to take us to that marriage. Because if I come back home abused, you are the one who's going to feel the pain.
Yeah.
So parents should bridge that gap that is existing right now because of these forms of taboo, cultural, customary issues. We need to bridge that gap because our mothers feel they cannot talk to us about certain things. I feel parents and women especially should come, just build that relationship with your child. Even men nowadays are abusing their own children. How will I come to you as my mother if you have no relationship? You cannot...
But if you look out for protection,
Exactly.
now your danger zone.
Yes.
Run to.
So women, in the spirit of Women's Month, let us bridge that gap that is existing in our homes between our children, our girl children, our boy children, because boys are also victims sometimes. But we need to come. I don't like this aspect of aunt who talk to Rebecca, aunt who talk to Rebecca, or our grandma, she'll be abused without even you knowing that she was abused. And that will affect, she'll detach herself from school, she'll detach herself from so many things. And then
You also need to observe the behaviors of children.
Exactly.
Sensitive to how your child is growing.
That's very
Maybe
true.
Growing in class,
Right.
playing like any other normal child. But come to think of it, this COVID season has made a lot of people stay or spend most of their time at home. How can you empower women to say, when you are in the home, identify the problems within your home? Does it mean that now when there is COVID, the cases have increased or they've reduced?
Wow. So it's a two-way thing here. So I happened to be in one of the projects, the Access to Justice project. So we had a chance of going around the country just to, we were doing some of the works on the Stop GBV program. So we discovered that in some provinces, the cases have gone up. In some provinces, they're on the same level. But this has two answers to it because some cases have gone up because kids are at home. Some cases have not shown any increase or decrease because kids are not at school to report these issues. So now it's a two-way thing. So logically speaking, cases have gone up because kids are now more home. And if you look at the most abuses happen at homes or places closer to home. So there are lots of kids that have been abused. Some have not come out clearly because they've not had an opportunity to tell their teachers at school. Then some, if you look at the statistics, I was looking at FAWEZA. FAWEZA statistics shows that we actually have more teenage pregnancies. So they've increased. So me, I'm looking at it, and my interpretation is that means there's been a lot of sexual abuse. So if you're looking at a teenager and they're below the age of 16, that means there's been a lot of defilement cases. Some have just not been reported.
It makes you so dirty, you feel like you're rejected,
Right.
you don't fit in.
The most hard cases, Dorcas, are those involving relations. Those involving your uncle, your daddy, your brother.
Because of the emotional attachment,
Right.
and where there's the sexual activity, something happens to both of the minds.
Yes.
Something happens.
And your mother.
To make decisions right.
And the women out there will tell you, Tetuba so sereba wiso, because this is the person providing for us. So many cases are swept under the carpet.
But that child gets broken.
Very much broken.
Get to see that person in the very house.
Yes.
Wow.
It is so sad. Cases have gone up, some have not shown indications, but I can tell you we have a lot of teenage pregnancies. For me, this derives the fact that there's been a lot of sexual abuse going on. Some have been where nika boyfriend and girlfriend below the age.
They don't have information.
Exactly.
To protect themselves and to make sexual decisions and everything.
So parents should be more observant. Check your children. Are they okay? Protect, take it, make it a mandate. Make it something that you do on your to-do list. The same way mushta makeup wanamayo. The same way tomato mushta tamuni mufriji. There's no chicken. Make sure you check your children. Are they safe? Maybe the teacher is abusing this child. So the child is no longer safe. Maybe never garden boy. Because now we have these women who can provide everything for us. They have money, but they are away, and you don't know that woman, that maid, is taking advantage of the boy child.
You have to be careful with both sexes. They are all vulnerable.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now the trends that have come, people buying cell phones and these other gadgets for young children.
Right.
Like they don't even need to have access to certain things. And the parents want to there 24 hours to monitor what the child is doing on the phone, what the child is looking for on the phone.
Right.
So they're exposed to a lot of things. By the time they know about sexuality, they should have gotten a doctor's movie.
So that's where I also feel like, we have a lot to do. We have a lot to do. These phones. You know, we're not going to take away the fact that there's a lot of early sexual debut. So meaning a lot of children are indulging before the age of 16.
Yeah.
So we are alive to that fact. And we know that these phones and gadgets have actually had a big role to play in relation to that. So because children are exposed, they have boyfriends, some of them are even talking to people on the internet they don't even know. So you as parents, you have a responsibility. I have a young brother.
Yeah.
And I remember he was telling us he wants a phone. And I remember my mother strongly telling him, what is the phone for? So especially the girl child, they're more exposed to some of these perpetrators than the boy child. But both of them are actually at risk.
They're not there to protect the child when they're becoming vulnerable.
Yes.
The one who provided the phone.
So Dorcas, you love your child. But loving your child does not mean you have to give them a phone. The spoiled children are the ones that have not even made it much in life. So you as a parent, try to balance the life of a child. You love them enough to give them a phone, give them when they are done with grade 12. So I know it's because there's this technology, there's all these things going on. We can't move away from culture. I think culture has a lot more to do with how we are bringing up our children. So when you are a mother and you know that you love your child so much, the best form of love is trying to direct them in the right way. Not to spare the road of whipping, but direct them in the right way. They don't need that phone at this moment. You can even say, you need books at this moment. I get to talk to my sisters. I get to talk to other girl child. And I tell them, you don't even need that boyfriend. Imagine a small girl who's 14 telling me, no, I'm heartbroken. Nah, show boyfriend went.
getting it done.
What advice can I give to such a girl? So now I'm looking at the early sexual debut that is going on now. Girls are indulging, boys are indulging before the age of 16. What can we do about it? You have a responsibility as a parent. The church has a responsibility.
It's the entire community. So
It's everyone.
Teach the mothers to do a mapping in the community.
Right.
I'm at work. Who will help protect my children?
Thank you,
Map
Dorcas.
out in the community there.
That's all we need.
Wow.
So we need to just be more than we are today. We women must rise to the challenge. There's something that was very important that Pastor Gladys Paswani mentioned during the Wow Women seminar. She said something that I took home and I said, wow. She said, we women are crying for gender equality. We're crying for gender equality.
They attain the equality.
But are you staying relevant? So if you're being relevant as a mother, then you're going to be relevant as a nation.
So you need to tell the women about negotiation. They do not know how to negotiate with a spouse who's been abusing their own child. And how they just come up and say, please, let's help this child. Wherever they have to go, they have to mention that it is my husband who was doing this. But they don't have the negotiation skills. They are afraid.
This is where the issue
And
is.
the emotional attachments that come in.
So women need to be empowered first. We need to be empowered financially. We need to be empowered for us to fit into the economy. So because we do not have the financial mandate, and this is the challenge to the women, the 21st century, we should be women that are able to provide. Because we're not independent. We're always dependent on our husbands. So even when your husband abuses your child, you cannot bring it out because you are afraid when he's put behind bars for more than 14 years, there'll be no one to provide. So you go through the abuse of being beaten as a wife, you go through the abuse of being verbally or emotionally abused, and you can't say anything about it. So in a case where your husband has abused or molested your child, the first thing you must do is report. It doesn't matter whether he's your husband. I know the emotional attachment that is there. I always like to tell clients, we call them clients, when there's an abuse that has happened, detach yourself from the perpetrator. So the fact that you're going to be in the same house with an abuser, with you cannot obviously take them anywhere.
So actually, before the actual abuse starts, there are those signs you see.
This is what we call grooming.
You don't really see them. And you're there as a woman, even from the very day. My child used to dress up like this.
Right.
Nasty, crazy. So how do you tell the women to monitor even the clothes that their children are wearing? They are the ones who are buying those clothes for the children.
First thing, women take responsibility. Men take responsibility. You, the man, you are the father of the child. You are the protector. You are the one who must provide inspiration. Take responsibility. If we can have more men standing up, more men standing against abuse, trust me, even abuse will be done. We're not very far from attaining a safe Zambia for our children, but there must be you and me taking up your role. So women must be responsible, men must be responsible. When I say responsibility, I'm saying there shouldn't be this gap. They're what we call sex roles and gender roles. Sex roles are those that I can't do. Yes, sex roles are those like I can have a child, my husband can't. My husband can make me have a child. I cannot make a man have a child. Those are sex roles. We cannot interchange. But we have gender roles. He can clean plates, I can clean plates. He can provide guidance for a child, I can provide guidance. Men should not only be aligned to disciplining the children. Men should also be brought in to guide the child. Clean, dress well, do all sorts of things. There must be... This is the 21st century, come on.
So now taking us back to the home setup, it's issues like where you know the bedrooms that have been allocated to your home. How can you tell the women out there to see also how the children in the home are sleeping? Do you make them sleep in one room together? You know the age groups and everything. Just tell them about how they can be smart in doing that.
Yeah, let's...
In the issue of the bedroom, that's when now siblings do certain crazy things, then issues of incest come, they fail to report the issue.
So first of all, I wouldn't have much of... I wouldn't want to come out and challenge every woman because I know the setup. Some of us are able to provide, some are able, yes, the financial income. But it's always important that you as a mother, you have children. For example, I have a 16-year-old boy and I have a 10-year-old girl. I can't make them sleep together. Because obviously, the boy who's a teenager is more sexually active.
And exploring ways.
He's exploring so many things.
You learn right from your child. You don't even.
Exactly. So there must be a distinction in the way we raise our children. You can't put two siblings in the same room and yet you have not even installed values in them. So it is important that you also are watching. Sometimes it's not about sleeping in the same room, but watching them. They are close, yes. It's okay to be close to your brother or your sister. But what else are you doing? Yes, but what else are they doing?
Teach them the way.
Yes. So sometimes you need to do deliberate action. You don't have the money. Make the boy sleep in the sitting room. And make sure the girl is locking the room. Make sure you're checking on them. Not that completely up to the morning. No. Do an extra. Exactly. So women must take responsibility. Men must take responsibility. If you're a man, provide. If you're the woman, you can also provide. Try and bring in these things. Try and protect that girl and boy child. However you go. In a home setup, it is your responsibility. In a community, it is also your responsibility. So because remember, because today the child that is abused might be the president, and that will be a broken president. So a broken child, exactly. So a broken child will make a broken community, and a broken community will make a broken government, and we have a broken world.
Wow.
So it's a chain. So today you have to harness your abuses. There's a team called Renewed Strength Zambia. I work hand in hand with them. They provide counseling. So for them, it's trauma. The trauma that you go through if you've been abused and you need counseling, you can reach out to them. Renewed Strength Zambia. We also have people like, the social welfare should be informed whenever there's an abuse. There's so many people, VSU officers or officers themselves who help counsel the child. They will do all sorts of things. So I know that we're running out of time and probably you're trying to tell me there's so much.
I just want to thank you for making time to come and keep the women and even the men this vital information. So just closing 2 words.
Okay, so I always close with this. This is the scale you must use when reporting an abuse. When a child is abused, don't wash them, don't bath them, take them directly to the police. So this is my closing remark. So you need to take them as they are. Don't wash the clothes they were in when they were abused. Take them to the VSU officer, to the police. There's a friendly environment for the children. Take the child there. They'll provide a medical report. The medical report will be taken to the medical officer who will check the child. If there's presence of semens or penetration, they will write on that medical report. From there, police will handle it. NPA will take it over. And then from there, we'll secure a conviction. Make sure that the child is protected. There must be social welfare, must be informed to work hand in hand. The child must be separated, taken to a safe home, and make sure that the child is protected completely. So that's in my ending.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Rebecca Mulenga. It's been awesome having you. So we are praying that you as our viewers have learned 1 or 2 things and that you will deal with every issue of abuse against children. And also if you've never dealt with any back issues from your past, just say, I need help. Come out there, people are available to help you so that you have the confidence to even talk to your children as well. So we thank you so much for today's edition. We'll catch you in our next edition. Thank you so much and bye-bye.